Okay, let's do it.
All right, welcome back to another great episode of Dr. J Radio Live. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. J, broadcasting from the City of Angels. Or is it? How about City of Demons? Or City of Ghosts? Or City of the Dead? City of Zombies? La La Land? Hollyweird? Whatever the hell you want to call it, friends, it's all up to you. Now, today's show is a very important one. If you've heard him before on this show, he's been interviewed twice, and that was literally last year, and we did a Halloween special as well. This is the most, and not most just investigated, but the most documented poltergeist case that you could ever imagine. Demons in Seattle, the Bothel Hell House. And without further ado, let me introduce our guest, the one and only Mr. Keith Linder. So, Keith, before we talk about the Bothel Hell House, tell us what your life was like leading up to it, and when you moved into it.
Yeah. Once again, thanks for having me for the third time. Third
Oh,
time's a
of
charm, I
course.
guess.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
feels good. About a year ago, so good deal on that. But no, you have an interesting question because, like I outlined it in my first book, prior to moving into this Bothell house, which is located right outside Seattle, about 20 minutes outside of Seattle on a good day, and I had just gotten a good job promotion. We're talking about an increase of income about 30%. Was hired on at a company as a manager, taking on a manager's role in IT project management. I would be supervising two teams, half here, half in Dubuque, Iowa. And at the time, me and my girlfriend were together for 2 years, so we were going steady. She had her place, I had mine. Neither one of us were dwelling or diving into the black arts or playing with Ouija boards. But the time felt right when I got the job promotion because it was near our third year anniversary of meeting each other. And I think the idea hit us both of, hey, let's just take that relationship to the next level. I want to get a new house. At the time, I had a one-bedroom apartment. Um, let's live under one roof. I mean, we're always spending enough time at each other's place anyway. Why pay two mortgages when you can pay for one? And yeah, so we found a house on Craigslist, made a game out of it, if you will, of who can find the house first that both of
Mm-hmm.
us would
Yeah.
agree to. And yeah, picked it out on Craigslist and saw it, loved it. Went to go see it, saw it again, loved it. Um, Applied for it, got it, and May 1st moved in and heard the kid cough about an hour or so later, and the rest was dark history.
Now, one thing I mentioned to you before is you're a Christian. You do everything that's expected from us today, right? You had a good job. You don't use drugs. You're not involved in dark arts or anything like that. And yet, like I said earlier, bad shit happens to good people. And you, of all people, are the nicest of people I've talked to and have really endured so much. I always reference the other two interviews, even though we're going to go into it again today, because just your first book doesn't cover it all. And we
Right.
both know 2 hours is not going to be enough. I know your second book will probably not cover it all because things are still happening, aren't they?
Correct. Yeah, and yeah, we grew up. I grew up specifically in the church, and I live my life by the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated. I have a good social life, a good job, a good niche of friends, family. I go home and get patted by my mom on the head every time I go home. Uh, I love my job. My job loves me. This is not like a, I don't know. The demons are gonna pick on somebody who have his comeuppance. This is about as innocent, almost cliche as it gets in regards to
To
why that
literally,
guy, why
literally
that
as
guy.
innocent as can be, you know?
And that might be the nature of what we're talking about here of, malevolent spirits being straight up opportunists, or this might be the equivalent, for lack of a better word, wrong place, wrong time. Because you got to keep in mind, this was my first house in the Pacific Northwest after living here probably about 12 years at the time, 10 years at the time when I moved here. And just to, like you said, run into something which by other people's accounts, not my account, has been one of the most strangest, darkest, weirdest poltergeist cases on record, in addition to the most investigated and the most documented. It just blows out the window current paradigms of what the phenomena is or should be.
Now let's set the background of so people can get an image in their minds of what this house looked like, the time frame, and when things started happening. How long after you moved in before you knew something was not quite right?
Almost immediately. When we got the keys to the house, this is day one of us signing the papers. This house is in a normal, I guess, brand new neighborhood. It's a two-story home. It's one of those homes where every other house looks identical. It's a tract home neighborhood. And yeah, we got the keys to the house. Homeowner left us a bottle of wine, shook our hand. He's out the door. And yeah, we heard a kid cough. Now, we did not think this kid cough was anything nefarious, because neither one of us have kids. It's a big house, and the noise we heard, which was very distinct, we both heard and we both said, was that a kid cough? And it had to have come from outside. That's where our thinking was, and we shrugged it off. Hindsight being 2020, probably shouldn't, but what do we have at the time then? And you fast forward maybe a week or two, probably 2 weeks, um, items just started coming up missing. My car fob, aka car keys, went missing. Tina's jewelry. But once again, we're not screaming anything paranormal because we just moved in the house. Things get lost during the moving process.
And people
And
forget, you may move something of hers and that she
right,
didn't know, regular stuff.
yeah, the stuff that we think, okay, it's gonna show up eventually. We got boxes everywhere. Tina, I'm sorry you lost your jewelry or your earrings, but they're gonna present themselves sooner or later. Then you're gonna be like, aha, this is where I put them. And the same thing with my car keys. Even though it was weird that these were the keys that I never used, that were the ones that went missing. But you flip the script or you flip the coin, because now we have items appearing in the home that neither one of us own, almost happening at the same time. Now, and by items appearing, I mean kid toys. Remember, going back to that kid cough. So now we're finding kid toys displayed out in the open. Now, these are
You don't have kids. Tina doesn't have children, right?
no children, just me and Tina living in the house. The majority of the toys we're finding them when we wake up in the morning. We're finding them on the kitchen counter,
Wow.
the staircase,
So
counter.
right where you can't miss them, on the staircase, on the kitchen counter. I mean,
Yeah,
geez, literally, something wants you to know that it's there.
yeah, something is going out of its way to let us know, hey, you're being haunted slowly but surely. You're not the only one living here. And I would scratch my head and look at Tina like, okay, I'm getting all the locks changed. I'm installing a security system because I want my girl to feel safe. I want to feel safe. And we really thought we were being pranked by the neighborhood HOA or the Teenagers Association in the neighborhood, because that's all we had to go on. And we was like, okay, this is kind of weird. It's a weird prank. I never would condone it, but okay, this is where we like the house still, but let's just see where this is going. And I kid you not, maybe 2 months of living in the home, me and Tina are watching TV together, side by side, shoulder to shoulder. I think we're watching Netflix or something. And Tina has this 4 foot tall plant that's sitting right next to the entertainment center. You can't miss it because it's right next to the television. It darts up in the air, straight up, a few inches off the ground, and does a 360-degree spin and falls toward the direction of us.
Wow.
And we look at each other.
Attacking you. That's what it's doing at that point.
Well, that was so-called the moment of, I guess, truth for us, because keep in mind, we saw that together, and I'm real glad I saw it and Tina saw it together. I didn't want to retell that story with her not being there. And we walked to the plant because we really thought, I kid you not, that we were on some kind of candid camera or reality TV show, and the balloons were going to fall, and somebody was going to walk out of the closet and say, "Hey, you guys were good sports about this whole trickery deal, so guess what? We're just going to give you the house for free." We thought something was going to be like that. We went looking for cords, remote control devices, electronic devices, anything that would show that this tree or this plant is being remotely controlled from outside or something. And there was none. There was nothing whatsoever. And I think it was Tina finally admitted while we was combing through the foliage of the plant, saying, "I think we have a kid ghost living here." And I looked at her and she looked at me, and then we both revert back to the kid coughing. We were like, "Yeah, I think we do," because now we got kid toys, the kid cough, the items appearing, the items disappearing, and yeah, we thought then at that point, okay, kid goes, doesn't mean it's the end of the world, doesn't mean run for the hills yet, because we went to the internet that night to Google and looked up kid ghost. What does it mean if you have a kid ghost living with you? And none of the advice given from the websites we went to went straight to malevolent force or spirit. They said kid spirits sometime will, frequent a house or live in a house. Maybe it was abandoned, they found it, and they're lost, they're confused. Guess what? You guys are going to have to take on a parental role and sort of guide this kid spirit back into the light. And we thought with the instructions we printed offline that, okay, we can do that. It doesn't seem like, you got to go to school for this. So we did what the advice said of talking nicely, especially Tina more than me because she's the female of the home, saying, "Go into the light. Who are you? Why are you here?" Things like that. And everything we tried now, we got a negative reaction. We got more objects being thrown at us, loud bangs. I remember one night we were downstairs and the bar stool flew across the kitchen. I mean, this is a very cast iron, pretty heavy bar stool.
Wow.
And that was not the reaction that the internet website said we should have gotten.
Now, of course, I have your book in hand. Now, this is 2012, right?
Yeah, this is summer 2012. Yeah.
So, okay, so we're long past May. May 1st was when you moved in?
Yep.
So, what escalated from that stool?
There was a campaign for the majority of the summer of 2012 of plants being thrown downstairs in the home. Tina had about 5 or 6 plants, real plants, that she moved into the house that she was very fond of. And they were positioned in various corners of the home, and they would just become projectiles. I mean, you would be having dinner, talking to your significant other, or you'd be watching TV, and something will zoom by you or zoom by the both of you, and then there's a loud crash. Now, one of the most interesting things about poltergeist phenomena, and there's a lot of interesting things about it, is sometimes we would hear the crash before an object was thrown, or
Wow.
vice versa. Sometimes you see an object zoom by you, and you're like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. And you're looking, and, 4 or 5 minutes later, crash, or vice versa. And that happened a lot, especially during I would say, the weekday hours of after 8 p.m. or so. And they all died.
Talk about transcendence of time, literally. I mean, it's like I would think, are your eyes and ears playing tricks? But you have corroborating witnesses.
Yeah, because we had a housewarming party. I think we were 3, maybe 4 months into the home. Um, and we had friends, Tina's friends specifically, who saw the plants fly and levitate, who saw the kitchen cabinet doors open at will by themselves. And both of our friends, when the house was full of guests, saw me getting locked out of my own home when I was bringing food in from the backyard, from the barbecue pit, and every time I would get to my sliding door, it would be locked, and my friends would be like unlocking me, letting me in my own house, while snickering because they were not aware of what we were actually experiencing. They would ask the question, "Keith, why you keep locking yourself out?" And I would kind of gingerly laugh at them and then look straight at Tina because Tina knows what's going on. But yeah, then late that night, the plant flew. Two of Tina's friends saw it. I saw it. Tina saw it. But yeah, time is a weird thing between time and these phenomena because a lot of things don't correlate the way you and I think they should correlate. It seems to be some sort of, I don't know, off, with, if you will, as far as time and a synchronization of the activity.
Yeah, very off, literally. It's a new formation of a kind of physics that we have to take an
Yeah,
approach to.
yeah,
Now, I know early on in your book when I was reading it, I think you even have a chapter, let me see, based on the Gray Lady. Um,
yeah.
when did she appear?
Great Lady Summer 2012 for the first time. Yeah, I believe that was late July and August time frame. Saw her in my office. Lo and behold, the office where, if you read my book, was one of the most active rooms in the home.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Definitely one of the most dangerous. So no, this is when we are already experiencing everything I just described to you. We've already established we have a kid ghost. We're sort of now leaning away from that because things seem to be more on the violent side, and we're finding more data on the internet saying, "Hey, it might not be a kid ghost." But this particular night, when I saw the Gray Lady, and I call her the Gray Lady. Number one, it's 100% gray. It was a female formed. What I later learned is an apparition of sorts. I was typing in my computer in my office upstairs. Tina's in the bathroom taking a bubble bath, and I'm typing, and the lights in my room go off, and I hear a click at the same time. Off, click, click, off. I turn toward the direction of the light switch, um, and there is a female standing in the doorway. I put her about 5'6", 119, 17 pounds, very thin, very frail looking. The interesting thing about her characteristics, though, is she's solid. She's not translucent, not transparent. She has spaghetti thin hair, shoulder length. She looks troubled, worn out, tired, mischievous, and very conniving. However, she's trying to, I guess, dart toward the washroom, which is the room next to mine, but she cannot demanifest, if that's a true word, or dematerialize into the door. She's sort of in and out, sort of stuck. I'm still not sure what I'm seeing because we're still talking about less than a second I'm seeing this. And finally, this, I guess, apparition gives up trying to dematerialize in the washroom room and darts around the corner. She darts around the hallway. Me, instinctively, more instinct than logic, I get up and give chase, thinking in my brain, that's Tina. Tina, stop playing. Stop. We agree not to do these type of jokes on each other.
Oh,
So
especially after things like this were happening, I would think.
yeah, we had a rule. We have some ground rules that since we have a ghost, it's probably not best to do practical jokes of the haunting nature in the house. So I gave chase, and I got to the hallway, and of course, the apparition was gone. I went into the bedroom, went into the bathroom, and looked at Tina, and Tina saw my look on my face, like literally, like I seen a ghost, and I told her I saw it, and Tina's like, Saw what? I'm like, no, I saw it. We finally, because keep in mind, this is about 4 months into the home. I finally have a face to our ordeal. However minute it is, I think I saw the culprit behind everything we've experienced. Was this gray lady. Now, she was wearing a dress. I can't put her time period as
I
to
was
what
just
time
gonna ask
period.
that. Okay, so you answered it for me.
But all I can say is she was frail and thin, and she looked worn out. And it's not Tina, because Tina's neck deep in bubble bath. And I said, I saw the gray lady. So I gave her the gray lady name because everything I grew up learning about ghosts, and I know very little at the time, was they're translucent, they're invisible, they're see-through, they kind of hover and float and stuff. No, this thing walked, it darted. You could hear the pitter-patter as it left your room. It was solid through and through. We made eye contact, if you will, so I saw her face. She looked real. If you take the part about her not being 100% gray, she looked like you and me. She was that. She had that much weight and depth to her, to where the only thing that you would make be scratching your head about is why is she 100% gray,
And why in your house, too,
and
right?
why in my house, and where did she go? Where
Yes.
did she go in the hallway? And yeah, me and Tina talked about that instance, I think, for the majority of that night.
Now let me ask you this: when you made eye contact with the gray lady, did her expression change?
No, the thing I always remember about my making eye contact with her is it was like I was looking at two personalities at once. It looked like the gray lady. She turned my light off. Okay, you heard the click, so that was a physical touch, and it looked like a part of her wanted to do that to be mischievous, and the other part of her just wanted to get the heck out of Dodge, like somebody told me to do that. Like she was talked into doing that. And I was like real confused as to why, she has two facial expressions at the same time. It's like, well, if you didn't want to do that, then why did you turn my light off in the first place? But she just looked worn, tired, controlled, but very conniving, very mischievous. I go later in my book, in the book you're referring to, of how you don't want to cross the gray lady. You don't want to. That's the vibe I'm getting. You don't want to cross her. She's not to be crossed. And I really drill down into her in book 2, because I think there's another chapter or two in book 2 about her specifically. Because I don't know if we mentioned the last time I was on here, the gray lady and the white lady opera, which is going to come almost 2 years later, looks identical, except one is gray, one is white. Both of
Interesting.
them look like the previous tenant in the home.
Now that obviously leads to the question of, did the tenant die in the home?
Ah,
Frail, fragile, like you mentioned, weak.
well, keep in mind now, the previous tenant we're referring to is Rhonda. Rhonda and her family lived in the home 5 years before me and Tina arrived. So I saw the gray lady in 2012. Um, I was able to reach out to Rhonda successfully late 2014, probably about August, once again, almost about 2 years to the day. And I found her on Facebook. And how I found her was her letter came in the mail, and I looked her up on Facebook, sent her a friend request, and asked her specifically, um, after admitting to her that we now live in a home her and her family once lived in, but I asked her, was there anything weird about the house that she wanted to share? And she did. Fast forward, she did. She said the house was a living hell. The house was alive. It was the beginning of the end. It destroyed their marriage. So Rhonda was very much alive. When I see these apparitions that I'm referring to as the gray and white lady, Rhonda, her name, is living in Yakima, Washington, and she's almost becoming my best friend, because outside of Tina, Rhonda and her family specifically are the only one that can identify with what we're going through.
So she experienced it as well.
Yeah, her and her family, having lived in the house 2008, 2009, for a relatively shorter time than we did, spoke of phantom footsteps,
Ooh.
spoke of being locked out the house. She was locked out the house, once again, the sliding back door, waking up and finding every kitchen cabinet door open, uh, being pushed. Her son, who was sick at the time, spoke of seeing shadowy figures out the corner of his eye. The interesting thing about that revelation, when I talked to Rhonda in August of 2014, she said her son saw them inside the house, which I too had seen them. She said he was still seeing them where they live now. She said he still from time to time will come tug her and say, I still see them. Now, his room, when he lived in the Bothel home, was my office. And he developed meningitis, a rare form, according to Rhonda, that the doctor said, of meningitis in the home. He was near death multiple times. I later learned, and this is going through notes that, smarter people than me have written as far as parapsychologists and other organizations. There's a terminology called a living apparition and a crisis apparition. A crisis apparition, for just for brevity's sake, is typically an apparition sighting of a traumatic event. You're driving down a long, dark road, and you see a lady standing on the corner, and she disappears or fades in and out, and different people have reported seeing her. That could be possible a crisis apparition, meaning if there was a car wreck, or that lady, if you go do some research and later find out through reading newspaper clippings that a lady died on an intersection somewhere and da 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 da, and her traumatic event got frozen into the surroundings. That's called a crisis apparition. A living apparition is sort of what they call it. I can pronounce this word, doppelganger or doppel, whatever that terminology is when you see a living apparition of someone who is still alive. See, Rhonda was still alive, so the gray lady and white lady, more gray lady than the white lady, would fall probably into the category of a living apparition, similar to a crisis apparition, with the exception of the person who's going through a crisis at the moment is still alive. So Rhonda, having talked to her multiple times during this ordeal, now living in Yakima, was still battling depression, was still battling her suicidal tendencies, which all that developed inside the Bothel home. She never shredded that off of her, and that, we're talking theory, not so much as fact, but there's a theory amongst those in the paranormal community that if you're alive, certain people can create or form a living apparition of themselves based on the amount of turmoil and strife they're going through currently.
There's a question for you here, a good one from Lasha Sanyuk, and here it is. Is it possible that the ghost or demon was using Rhonda's image?
That's a good question. That's my belief, based on a lot of things we've not yet talked about. But yes, it's quite possible. And there's evidence in both books, the Bothel Hell House and my second book, to support what your listener just asked, because demonic forces, when they think of a rodeo where the cowboy's riding a bull, when they afflict you, they afflict your person. And Rhonda's history in the home, like I said, she was targeted more than anybody else in the home, like I was targeted more than Tina. They're riding you. They're riding you from sunset to sundown, and they're beating you. And yeah, they can take on the appearance and likeness of you for a number of reasons: deception, distraction, for kicks, for all kind of things. Because when I saw the gray lady, me and Rhonda had not met yet. We got 2 years before we even meet.
Wow.
when we
Again, another time where time is, you know, thwarted, used in a
exactly.
different way. Let me give a shout out real quick. We have Justin T. Much love from the Blue Crew and much love from me to the Blue Crew. Thank you so much, Justin, for your super chat. And Justin, you are always there, and I got to thank you for that. So, down in Louisiana, I hope all is well with you. And to you and all the other moderators in the Blue Crew, I want to thank you for that. Anyhow, considering what you're just talking about, the fact that this is 2 years, that it's warping time. 2 years. I wonder why and how. Well, the how is obviously the weirdest question that I don't know if we're ever gonna know on this side of the life. But do
Yeah.
you have any idea why?
One theory that I put in my second book, and like I said, these are facts that I could not make up or ever imagine to write up, but they are true. Um, Huge revelation for you and your listeners. The Rhonda who we've been talking about, she did finally succeed in killing herself. Rhonda
Ooh,
is no longer
suicide. Ouch.
suicide. She's no longer with us. She walked in front of a moving train August of 2016. Once again, 4 years after I saw her gray apparition, 2 years after I saw her white apparition. One of the footnotes in regards to what your listener asked, the question about demons and their relationship to people, and also the footnote that some parapsychologists say about both crisis and living apparitions. Both living and crisis apparitions, specifically living apparitions, sometimes is a precursor of that person that's about to die. I mean, I'm seeing Rhonda's ghost, her apparition, or the demon's image of her 4 years, 2 years before her passing. Rhonda, which I talked to her numerous times, we spent a lot of midnights talking, a lot of coffee, talking via Facebook, via Skype, and via telephone, as the haunting in the Bothel house affected her tremendously. There were 4 to 5 suicide attempts by her inside the Bothel home.
Knock on wood.
Inside.
Wow. It affected her psyche that much. I can
Yes.
imagine. I mean, you must have thick skin to deal with what you did. And poor Tina. I mean, I know it cost you a relationship with her, and she looked to you as the man to, solve it, protect her. But this is one of those cases that you can't, and it's
You can't.
scary.
No, you can't. Me and Tina had numerous conversations as the activities start to spike for the entire year of 2014. Um, I can't protect her. The only thing that we relied on each other as a hope and prayer of protecting ourselves is we got to be spot on with communication. We got to be spot on with our record keeping and how we tell this story to the churches that we are bringing in to assist and help us. And the advice given by all the churches, including the Catholic Church in Bothell, is you have to have a mental, physical, and spiritual united front to even have a chance of beating this thing. Because keep in mind, we don't know. You kind of know what you're fighting, but you don't know the level and the degree.
Now,
Okay.
let me throw another shout out here for another super chat. We got Lars Saturn. I want to thank you in Florida for all your support as well and for checking on me when I was not on air. Now, I'm going to turn this around to you and Keith and ask you about the Bibles because that's been sitting in my head, probably for the last week plus since we were deciding on this show. I wanted to ask when the Bible started to be burnt and thrown. They were thrown, right? You showed pictures
Yeah.
of what was thrown at you.
Yeah. Yeah. The Bibles first they were being thrown, and by thrown I mean we call churches and other organizations, and the advice given is to get these whatever there is out of your house. You want to display your religious belief openly. So if you got a Bible, be a good idea to put it on a coffee table, lamp table, or bookshelf. So we put it in the hallway bookshelf because that seemed to be the thoroughfare for all the activity, i.e., Gray Lady. And yeah, you put candles around it and you open it up to your favorite prayer, which was for me the Lord's Prayer. And you and your girlfriend, you pray over it, you light a candle, you put it out, and go to bed. Um, a few times after that, just the Bible would just be thrown off the shelf. You'd be multitasking elsewhere or another part of the house, and you hear a loud thud. You come upstairs and the Bible's on the floor face down. You're already told in advance this could happen. You pick it back up, dust it off, turn it back to the page it was on, put it back up there, and kindly look up at the ceiling and say, "Hey, spirits, cut that out. Get out of the house in the name of da 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 da." Sometimes they would throw it down the second you turned your back to it. Sometimes they'd throw it down, you get downstairs and you hear a thud. Sometimes they'd throw it down in the middle of the night.
To wake
Worst
you
case,
up.
to wake you up. Or it gets worse than that. Sometimes they throw it across the bed while you're asleep. You're sleeping and something goes whoosh. You hear a thud in the room. It's pitch black. You turn on the lights. Bible's over there in the corner. So that's the throwing aspect of it. Then the first Bible to catch fire went missing before it caught fire. So this was the first Bible we had displayed. It had been thrown several times. I woke up one morning. Tina's out of town. I woke up one morning and looked, and the Bible was gone. It was resting when I left. Now it's gone, as are other objects in the home. This is 2012. 2014, we're awaking. Me and Tina are awakened up in the middle of the night. We'd had crazy activity the day before, which brought in a paranormal team, but they had left. So it's about 1:30 in the morning, Sunday morning, and the fire alarms are going off. It's just ringing throughout the house. We're tired. We're sleep deprived. We're crazy, and we dart up, hearts pitter patting. I opened up the bedroom door because we sleep with our bedroom door closed because objects fly in when you're sleeping. So I opened up the bedroom door, and there on the floor in the doorway pretty much is a book. Now the book is on fire. I don't know it's the Bible yet because it's flames.
It's on fire, yeah.
It's on fire.
You see fire and smoke, and obviously set the fire alarm off.
Yeah, the hallway is filled with smoke and ash, and the pages are cinders flying everywhere. And you're frantic, right? I mean, a fire in your house is horrible. A fire in your house in the middle of the night is even worse. And this book is just burning on the floor, on the carpet. So I take my foot and I close the pages to douse it, and that worked. As soon as I did that, I look and I said, "Oh, that's the Bible. That's the Bible that went missing a year and a half ago." And I pick it up, and just to confirm what I already knew, and true enough, and Tina's right there with me. I mean, her mouth is dropped, my mouth is dropped, because this Bible has been missing for over a year and about 3 months. And
so it was one of those missing items that reappears burning in your damn doorway.
Burning.
Wow.
And that was Bible number one. And I kid you not. There were flames, red, orange flames, set off all the alarms in the home. Ash, smoke. I think I got the pictures in my book of how that looked.
You got a lot of pictures and video on your YouTube channel, for that matter, and we're going to plug that in near the end of the show, and you got also authority now, but I do have a question for you. This is from Tammy George. Do they think that house is a portal? Interesting.
The investigators from both the East Coast United States, Nikki Novell, Carissa Fleck, and the investigators from the UK, parapsychologist Steve Mara and Don Phillips, when they both came at different times to investigate the home, they found anomalies that point to a portal theory. And by that, specifically, when Don and Steve were upstairs conducting a thorough investigation of one of the guest bedrooms.
Is this the time when they stayed for a month?
Yes, the United States team lived in the home for a month The UK team lived in the home for 2.5 weeks. Steve and them, when using a flare device, like a flare gun, a flare device, picked up an unusual anomaly on the wall in one of the guest bedrooms. Interesting enough, this wall where they picked up the anomaly was the wall that the armoire was thrown multiple times from. There was on the flare device, there was a circle red dot about the size of a beach ball. When you put your hand to it, you can't see it with the naked eye, but if you put your hand above that circled area, it's very cold. It's colder than the temperature of the room. It's definitely colder than the outer rim of the circle, which is the majority of the wall. Um,
Now,
that
cold
stayed there for about.
air is something I've heard from every ghost investigator or someone who's had an encounter with ghosts, such as yourself. I don't know why, but it seems to be cold air is the norm when it comes to the undead, demonic, poltergeist activity.
Yeah, there's documented cases of a dramatic change in temperature. I can tell you in our home, we never really experienced a dramatic drop in temperature, but we did experience weird atmospheric changes. Two examples would be the concussion sounds, the loud popping, pinging, snapping of the wall and the ceiling, like the house was contracting, like it was really pulsating. Different devices picked up humming noise, almost undetectable to the naked ear. Another atmospheric change you could sort of feel, if not smell, was the foul odor. I mean, it's very localized. It's like you move just a centimeter and the smell is gone. You move back and it hits you, it floors you. I mean, it knocks you to your knees, and it's just very stinky, like 200 years of bad plumbing
Ooh.
or backed up plumbing, pretty much. Yeah, and then it's gone. It's like 30 seconds to 3 minutes. Then it's gone without a trace. I kid you not, without a trace. So those two things, in addition to them finding up that weird pattern of circle on the wall with the flare device, um, they could not find an explanation as to root cause for that, except to say that when they went back to that same wall for the duration of their stay to sort of see if there was a time synchronization, maybe it's a wind or a vent or something that's hitting it or whatever. They could not. It never reappeared. It only reappeared once or showed up once.
Now, when did you mention that the Bible and other things were being thrown at you across over the bed where you were sleeping? Was there a turning point when things got really physical when this ghost was saying, "Get the hell out"?
I could tell you one of the lowest, probably the most, one of the lowest points for me and Tina, where we were so beat down. And I mean, there was a scene. I think it's in my book one where um, we're sitting on the floor in the hallway. Uh, we were sleeping a few minutes prior, and we're waking up to fire alarms ringing. Um, this is, I think, late 2016. We ran toward the direction of the smoke and the fire, my office, and both my computer monitors were on fire. It took us a while to put this fire out because every time we would douse it successfully, for reasons I still can't explain, it would reignite. Probably about the third or fourth try, we finally doused it successfully. This burnt metal, this burnt plastic, this burnt glass, the office is just destroyed. And I remember sitting on the floor. I got dust and soot up my nostril. Me and Tina look like hell. And I'm looking at Tina, and she's looking at me, and I thought to myself, I don't think we're going to survive this. This is, I mean, this is where it ends. And I kid you not, when I got up again, I forgot what it was I was to do specifically. Tina rushes towards me, and I'm like, I don't really know what she's doing, but she's on my person. She's on me now. And she's like, take it off, take it off, take it off. And I'm like, what are you fidgeting with me for? I'm trying to clean up this office or whatever. She's like, take it off. And she took off my shirt. Probably, I think she tore it off me. My shirt was on fire.
Oh, jeez. So it went from a fire of the Bible in your doorway to on you?
Yeah,
And you
the
didn't
back
feel
of
it?
my no, the back of my shirts was smoldering. It was smoldering in little flames that I can't see because it was back on my shirt.
Wow.
And Tina's like fidgeting with me, and I can't necessarily. I know I must have made her mad because we're tired. It's like early in the morning, we're beaten down, and I didn't know what she was doing. I like, what are you doing? I like, the fire is not me. The fire is my monitor. And finally, truth came to light because she succeeded in getting my shirt half off me, and then I start smelling and seeing the flames at the bottom of my shirt, and she was like, "Your shirt's on fire." And that was enough for me to finally just zip off my shirt and sling it to the ground. And that in itself, because I was like, I don't, how, you can't fight that. You can't fight fire. I mean, let alone we just got my monitors are destroyed, the office is destroyed.
Knock
I
on
don't,
wood
I
again.
don't, I don't need my person catching fire. I don't need me catching fire.
Damn right. No, seriously. I mean, that's spontaneous combustion to the 10th or the 100th degree, literally. I mean, what was leading up to that? How long did it take for it to start smoldering?
Instantly, because we were sitting in the hallway for a while after putting the fire out in my office, and I just got up to do round two of cleanup. And as soon as I got up to proceed to getting more towels and dishes and I guess wet sanitizer on deck, Tina was right there. She just rushed towards me, and I didn't really know what she was rushing towards. You know, at first I thought I was in her way or something, or maybe she saw something in the room I didn't. But then I realized, oh, the room is not being haunted. I'm being haunted. And Tina saw it having been, because I turned my back to her to head toward the office, and she saw what was going on with my shirt. I couldn't feel it because I wear a shirt and a t-shirt under me, and I was wearing blue jeans, and so I couldn't feel it. Now it was not like the flames from the burning Bible. It was not like dancing up on the shirt, but it was like a simmer, or I mean, it was simmering. It was red flames in the sense of you can tell a shirt is on fire, and there was smoke. And Tina just ripped it off me. And was trying to just yank it off me because I was not helping her because it took me a while to catch on.
Now, let me ask you, this is something I've been pressing about. The upside down man. Can you tell us
hmm
about that? How did it appear? Other markings before it, after it, where it was placed, and why an upside down man?
Yeah, so the upside down man falls into the category under Portuguese. It's called a wall writing phenomena. Generally, with poltergeists, not all cases, but some, the rarest, the house occupants experience weird writings on a certain wall. Generally, the language is very obscene, it's not friendly. It's words like "get out," "you're gonna die," "I hate you." Most of the time, it could be in a foreign language that the house occupants can't understand, let alone interpret. And that's where the upside down man falls into, because when you look at the pictures of the upside down man, you immediately look at it as like, oh, that's an upside down stick figure of a man. Okay, it's not doesn't take a lot of rocket science to see what that is, but you don't know what that means. But it means something because it's not something you would draw every day. And the first, I guess, campaign of us experiencing wall writings was an upside down cross. The first three times we had wall writings, we would come home. The house is totally trashed, looked like a tornado whipped through, upstairs and downstairs. And we found upside down crosses drawn in my office on multiple walls and even on the floor. We later found out that the I guess what was used to draw that was the sage stick that me and Tina had purchased that we were using the day before or the night before. The spirits were taking the sage stick and using that to draw an upside down cross. Um, Then that escalated because we came in there and cleaned that up relatively easy. Soap and water, it's gone. We buy more sage sticks, buy more Bibles, say more prayers, and then things start ratcheting up. So now you're coming home to 666, more upside down crosses, and it's in a black substance. It's not ash anymore. Barely looks like paint. Very hard to remove, to clean up. It takes a little bit more time. What used to take 20 minutes now takes the entire weekend. You now got to go buy paint. You got to go buy primer.
Now,
So we're
I'm
paying.
looking at this upside down, and do you have an idea of what it was drawn in? I mean, it looks, I don't know if it's crayon, it can't. It's not quite paint. Maybe burns?
Well, we found, and that's one of the reasons why book two was written, because now we know what that stuff was made out of. I don't know which one you're looking at specifically. If you're looking at the wall markings that
Wall
appeared
marking of the upside down man, yeah.
of Halloween, that Halloween night or November 1st, that substance is called bone black. Bone black is an organic substance that's made or a derivative of incinerated buffalo or bison bone. The upside down man is a Native American symbol. Any of your listeners can Google Native American upside down man, and they're going to come smack dab to a website identical to the markings in my office. So now we have two interesting clues. Number one, what does an upside down man mean? An upside down man, when drawn by Native Americans, means that a man has died or is about to die, going back to that living and crisis apparition. Also, the upside down man also symbolizes, it means that a man died unnaturally. He died either by smallpox or disease or was murdered. Okay? That's what the upside down man symbol symbolizes. Now you got to get into, okay, the substance. Okay? The substance took a little bit longer to come to, I guess, discovery with, because that requires analysis, that requires vetting, it requires shopping around. So that information was not put in book one, but the whole process of how I came back with Bone Black occupies 2 chapters in book 2. Bone Black, aka Bone Char, which is its original name, once again, is incinerated buffalo or bison bone. Um, Native Americans would use bone black to do pictography or calligraphy. Um, Bone black or bone char is one of the oldest forms of painting with pictography or calligraphy throughout the world. It's not just indigenous to North America. Other continents where the indigenous people did that used incinerated animal bone. How did I find out that it was bone black? Long story short, I chiseled, or me and my friend, we chiseled a piece of the office door and took it to a lab. My company, the company that I work for, a friend of mine who works at my job, after learning of my story, said, Keith, we got a lab upstairs. His job, my friend, is he tests paint. And he said he has a device upstairs that he's pretty sure could tell me what this paint stuff is made out of. Now, when he tested it with what is called an XRD, XRF gun, it's not going to tell him bone black. His equipment is going to tell them the materials. His job, the department he works for, is to look for metals in all the paints that we put on our products, make sure our third-party vendors are not skipping us or putting illegal substances on our products that can't enter certain countries. So he's testing metals all day. When he put it up to this door piece, meaning the part that I chiseled off from my home, the reading came back all organic. It was a lot of phosphate, calcium, and other organic byproduct, no paint whatsoever, no metal whatsoever. So we felt we hit a brick wall. He was able to pull up the 5 ingredients of the substance, but we felt we had to hit a brick wall because it's not going to tell you what the substance is. It's going to tell you what it's made out of. I took the printout that he gave me and shopped it around about 5 to 7 different art galleries throughout the country. And I can tell you this, those that I talked to after me giving them the makeup of the black stuff, all of them, the ones that had experience with pictography and calligraphy, said that they're 95 to 98% sure that it's bone black or bone char, especially after comparing the images that you're looking at right now with the makeup of what the XRD gun pulled off the wooden piece.
Now, before Rhonda lived there, you said she was there for a short period of time, right?
Right.
Who was there before? Were you allowed to know that? I mean, in real estate, aren't you supposed to be told if someone is died in the house, or whether it's haunted, or whether ghosts appear? Isn't that in real estate?
Well, keep in mind, different states have different laws and rules. We know nobody's died in the home. Washington State is not a disclosed state for haunted houses. I know a lot of states are.
That's right.
Rhonda, when they left, they did not report none of their activity to the landlord or to the previous owner. There were I believe four families that lived in the home between the time Rhonda did and the time me and Tina moved in. I could not find them. I could not locate them. I could not locate the family that lived in the house before Rhonda. This house was built, just to give your listeners an idea of when it was built. This house was built in 2005.
So new. This is a new home. We're talking
New home.
about 14 years old. That's it.
Right. The neighborhood built in 2005. Rhonda moved in 2008, moved out 2009. Other families came in, and then me and Tina came in May of 2012. Now, it's interesting going back to the very beginning because, it's weird. There was, for, no pun intended, but the handwriting was sort of on the wall that this house had a bad history because the day me and Tina moved in, a few weeks after we had got the keys, the neighbor across the street moseys over to introduce himself to me. Me and my friends have been loading stuff into the home all morning, and we were having a beer break, and we were standing in the driveway, and the neighbor comes across the street and says, "Hey, my name is da-da-da-da-da," and he asked me the question of, "Are you the new couple moving in?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're moving in." And the first thing he said was, "Wow, I didn't know this house was for sale." Second thing he says is, "Nobody stays in this house for long."
That's a big indicator right there.
Right. And I thought that was weird. And this is like day 3 of us getting the keys to the house.
Literally, yeah. When your boxes are still full and being moved around. Wow. There are 2 questions in the chat. The first one I know the answer to, but I'm going to let you explain it too. Tammy George wants to know if you're still living there.
No, I moved out of the house May of 2016.
Yet you're still being tormented, right?
That's correct, yes.
The second question from Lasha Senyak, is it possible the land itself was haunted?
Yes, the land, going back to the wall writings of the Upside Down Man, going back to the Bone Black Bone Char, the land, Bothel, Washington, Snohomish County. Snohomish is a Native American word. It's a tribe. Bothel, Washington in the 1800s. There were Native Americans living throughout Bothel, throughout Puget Sound, throughout the Pacific Northwest, as a majority of the country. We found out through research in Bothel that in the mid-1800s that there were multiple smallpox, keyword smallpox, outbreaks that decimated nearly 500,000 Native Americans throughout the entire Pacific Northwest, Bothel included. About 300 to 500 of Native Americans died. I forgot what year it was, but it was a winter in mid 1800s in Bothel specifically. Now, I don't think there's a native being buried directly under the house, but I do think there's native burial in the vicinity and the immediate area. One of the things that gives me rise to believe that is some of the EVPs on my YouTube channel that Don Phillips and Steve Mera conducted, EVPs of Q&A, where they asked the question, is the phenomena that Keith and Tina experiencing related to Native American history? And I kid you not, your listeners can go and hear it for themselves. The answer is a clear, concise yes.
Wow.
If you take the upside down, because keep in mind, the upside down man was always peculiar to me. When I started reading other poltergeist cases, every case is different. Every case is its own snowflake.
It's like a person, unique.
It's like a person. It's very unique. This wall writing, you saw the upside down. It's fairly big. It takes up almost a whole wall. And this spirit who wrote this, or spirits who wrote this, they wrote that for a reason. They wrote it to be discovered, to let it be acknowledged that you're not the only one here. You might not be the only one with land rights here. And some of us who are here forever roaming around because we were buried incorrectly, we were murdered incorrectly, we were genocide, or whatever you want to name for the Bothel area, and history supports that. They're letting it be known that, hey, we're here, and yeah, man has died, we have died. It's an upside down man. I cannot find any other documented poltergeist case where an upside down man figure was drawn. There's been multiple poltergeist cases or demonic cases of 666, of upside down crosses. So this one was very geographical to the area, Pacific Northwest, to Bothel. And one of the things I tell people, because people know this case, those who saw the Demons in Seattle episode of Ghost Adventures. Let's just get that out there. Ghost Adventures were at the house. Ghost Adventures spent 5 hours at the house. Ghost Adventures did not find any evidence, but also said through their research that they could not find any Native Americans in the vicinity of the Bothel home. The listeners can Google Bothel, Washington, go to Bothel, Washington Wikipedia, or Bothel, Washington, wherever, encyclopedia. And I can tell you, you're going to get 2 or 3 paragraphs that list Native Americans occupying Bothel, Washington, and instinctively. I mean, they occupied it a lot, and those that died did not die happy deaths. So it took a while to unravel that. I'm talking about hours of being in the museums, in the county records office, in the city hall. I mean, I viewed hundreds and hundreds of microfilm to pull up this information of what took place in Bothel, and talk to a lot of people whose ancestors lived here at the time. And nobody I talked to who's have ancestors who lived in Bothel told me they're not surprised I'm having activity in that house, because they have had other homes in and around Bothel reporting similar activity.
So it's the whole area. That was one of my own questions, because there are a few questions in the chat, and so it wasn't just your house.
Right, yeah. None of the homes are experiencing burning Bibles and throwing Bibles and running around with their head on fire, but there are reports of people say, oh yeah, I jog in my neighborhood and I get hit with stones every now and then. It's just stones hit me in the back or whatever. And when I was doing research in the county records office, the natives would throw stones, the children of the natives would throw stones at the settlers as they were, chopping down trees or erecting log cabins.
Invading their home, essentially.
Right. Yeah, they would sabotage their canoes or whatnot. And every now and then somebody would come forward with me with a story like that, or a similar phenomena in their home. Most people just leave. Like around them, they just left. They They did not know poltergeist, demon, spirit. Um, Rhonda, her words, not mine, said the house felt like it was alive. It was a dreary place. It was a black cloud over the home. We know that house had a dark history, not only because of the land, but also what took place in the home with Rhonda's multiple suicide attempts in the home.
Yeah,
Which the
knock
more
on wood.
darkness and the chaos, yeah, it attracts more dark spirits. She became addicted to painkillers, to alcohol, and her
Mm-hmm.
son was sick. So more spirits are going to pile on. I mean, if you drop a candy cane on the sidewalk and come back 2 hours later on a clear summer day, yeah, it's going to be 200, maybe 2,000.
Ants,
And
yeah. Damn
yeah,
right.
but it starts
Attachments.
off at one. It starts off at one. The first Andy gets to the candy cane, sends a signal out, like, hey, there's a candy cane over here, and they all come. So that's sort of like the spiritual side of what's in that house.
Now, let me get to some of these questions here. Tammy George, has he had an exorcism to get rid of? I'm
For the
reading
house
word
or
for
for
word.
myself?
I'm assuming it just left off on of. I'm assuming of. Let's answer both, actually. The house and you.
Yes, we had the Catholic Church performed their version of rites and exorcisms on the house. That made the activity worse. The Episcopalian Church performed a house exorcism after the activity has subsided. That seemed to do a little good, but not quite. Shamans came to perform their version of cleansing on the home multiple times. It was very touch and go. Some certain things worked, and by worked I mean it would work for a short period of time, and then bam, the activity is back. And I also had an exorcism conducted on me prior to them conducting the Episcopal exorcism on the house. That video of both is on my YouTube channel as well. It's a 4 hour long video of the exorcism being conducted on the home, and maybe a 20-hour one conducted on myself. What's interesting about that video, after it was further reviewed and researched, you can hear the spirits commenting
Huh.
and talking and snickering throughout the conduction of the service of the exorcism. I didn't find the voices. People with better ears and better equipment than me, who do this stuff every day, all day, came back to me and like, you got to hear the voices, because at that time when the exorcism was being conducted, I didn't have a strong foundation for EVPs. It was just an acronym to me. But when they pulled it out and threw it in timestamp and then, made the sound larger or louder, you hear
Yeah,
about three to four
they're very
voices.
low in volume. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to take out the noise and the sound
right.
and isolate it. I've never done it myself. I don't even have an EVP meter or recorder, but of course I've heard them. You mentioned shamans. Rockstar, no, before I get to Rockstar's question, Lasha wants you to ask. Well, you kind of already said it, but someone else asking here to go more into it. Did you
Mhm.
ever ask a native shaman to come have a look at the house?
Yeah, about three different shamans, those tribes that are familiar with the area. We reached out to them, and not only me, the Catholic Church worked with shamans. Keep in mind, because the Catholic Church that we were referred to by the Seattle Catholic Church uh, dealt specifically with these types of hauntings. The parish in Bothel is the parish that all the Catholic churches in the immediate area go to for instances like this, which lets you know that there are other cases that they work that never make the light of day. So they work with shamans because they know, like I know through the history, that yes, some of this stuff are angry spirits, unsettled spirits as a result of the ill treatment in the past. So they want to pull in some shamans as a resource. Also, the Episcopal Church, Father Roy, that's his name, his partner, who's a shaman, comes from Eastern Washington. He assisted with exorcisms. All the shamans, by their word, know of such activity. They're all perplexed by the level of frequency and intensity of the Bothel home. That was one of the common saying among, be it researcher, be it parapsychologist, be it shaman, be it Catholic priest, Episcopalian priest, enthusiast, investigator, everybody, regardless of what circle or spectrum they come from, said this house is extremely active, and they were right. Steve Mera, who wrote his own book Fire and Whispers, is on Amazon, who lived in the home 2.5 weeks. They found 434 EVPs
Wow.
on their first visit to the home in January of 2016. A majority of them are Class A, Class B. And by EVPs, I mean conversations, enunciations,
So
intelligent.
we're talking about
Uh,
more than one ghost. They're conversing with each other.
they're conversing with each other. You got
Jeez.
male voice, male talking to male, male talking to older male, male talking to younger male, male talking to female, female talking to male, female talking by herself, younger voice talking by herself, kid voice, got a young kid voice there saying three. When Carissa Fleck asked a question on the patio of how many shadow people are out here, the answer she got is three. It was a kid voice, very
That's
clear,
the
one of the
first one you
clearest.
first thought with you and Tina, right? The kid toys, right?
Right, right. It was a kid voice, and he says it very distinctively. And I'm telling you, it's eerie to hear. When I first heard it, I remember when Chris went outside. I was probably upstairs in my office. I'm going outside to conduct an EVP session. I'm like, whatever. And 2 hours or 3 hours later, upon review, once again, you can't hear the EVP with the naked ear. It comes up on the equipment, and your listeners can go to YouTube, type in Demons in Seattle space 3 and listen to that 2 or 3 odd minute video. And it's a kid voice. And he says three. What shocked me was the question she asked when she said, how many shadow people are out here? And the kid said three. Now, I don't know if the kid is including himself as a
One of the
third, as
three.
one of the three,
Yeah. Or
or
he's
he's
seeing
saying,
three
or is he
others.
seeing three? Either one, that's not comforting. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Do you see three, or you one of the three? But it sound the way he said it, it sounded like he was implying, "I see three."
Wow. Okay, more questions for you. This is from Rockstar. Have you ever experienced any scratches on your person?
Yes, not on me, Tina. Tina was scratched a few weeks after Ghost Adventures had left. Tina had a campaign. I call these campaigns where the activity, everything's happening, and then something new is inserted, which means there's a new campaign. Tina woke up with 3 scratches on both arms one morning. Come running to me hysterically. These 3 red lines on her arm. She don't know how they got there. Then the next morning, she come running, screaming toward me again. There's 3 lines on both arms, and now 3 lines on both her thigh. This time, she got these while in the shower, and yeah, a few weeks after that, she was gone.
Wow. This next one I can answer for you. Lars Saturn wants to know where is this house, and you said, of course, it's Seattle, Washington, in Bothel area, right? City of
Yeah,
Bothel.
Bothel, city of Bothel. Yeah, city of Bothel is its own city outside of Seattle. It's about 20 minutes to the north, to the northeast. Snohomish County. Yeah, Bothel, Washington.
Let me see what else I got here for you. Okay, Lasha wants to know, did any other houses in the immediate area have activity, which you also covered, not to that extreme experience that you and Tina had, but they did.
Yeah, that's a good question because one of the questions the paranormal researcher, and a lot of them did this, asked a similar question, is a part of your investigative research as you're trying to fact find and determine root cause in a neighborhood. Um, they asked me and Tina questions, and then they went to ask our neighbors that same very question because you have a house, they're very closely built to each other. Is there spillover? Is there something going on in the other homes? And maybe or maybe not. So when they talked to my neighbors to the left and to the right of me, The neighbors to the right of me did not report any activity, except with the exception of their dogs acted weird.
Almost as if they could see or hear, like EVPs are low,
Right.
something that we can't hear. Very interesting.
Yeah, their dogs would not come to their part of the house that was closest to ours. They would say our dogs purposely avoid the rooms facing Keith Linder's home. They came forward with that information once they got the knock on the door, and multiple paranormal teams with their vans saying paranormal this, paranormal that, because they were like, oh, well, all these vans at Keith and Tina's house all the time. But yeah, the paranormal teams asked them. Other neighbors in the neighborhood mentioned how their pets would act strangely when you take your dog for a walk and you got to pass your neighbor's home, and the pets would just act strangely passing Keith and Tina's home. So yeah, that was interesting. But nobody is reporting um, activity. I can tell you from the EVPs that we caught inside my house and the EVPs Dawn caught in the woods, which is immediately by my house, which is in the back of my house. And going back to that 3 EVP that Carissa caught on my patio, um, I'm of the thinking, as well as the investigators, that the spirits go in and out of a majority of the homes in that neighborhood.
Now, let me ask you this, because I know you're still dealing with this phenomenon. Is Tina still dealing with it?
At the time I wrote book 2, me and Tina were speaking frequently and regularly, and one of the questions I would ask her, without going into too much detail, was, "How are you living now? How are things for you now?" And she did not tell me or let on that she was experiencing any activity. Uh, Nothing like me. Now, I want you to listen to, because I want to define the word activity as to what I'm experiencing now. Um, what I'm experiencing now is pales in comparison to what I experienced in the Bothel home. I've not seen an object be thrown in now going on 4 years. I've not had phantom footsteps. No Bibles are catching fire. No lights are turning off and on. Occasionally, and this is very rare, there's some sort of minute electrical issue. I did experience the water puddle phenomena, where there's a mysterious water appearance, leakage, spillage. I do experience voices of my name being called. The only constant, and by constant I mean the only, I guess, non-stop activity that I've been experiencing in both homes, the one I wish I could shake to this very day, is the poking and the prodding while sleeping, the nightmares and the night terrors, as well as occasional sheet being tugged on my bed or pillow. These things they poke you and prod you. They're just very annoying. Some nights are worse than others. I keep a diary as to pinpoint what nights are worse. I can't find any rhyme or reason as relation to the moon or the lunar or the solstice or anything like that, but I keep a diary anyway. But it's unrelenting. The shadow figures, I call them minions. They're in my book. I gave a name for them only because I've seen them. People who've been to my new place of residence, women I've dated, have seen them. Some have broken up with me as a result of seeing or having experiences in their home after dating me or whatnot. So yeah, that's what I have. But which is worse, this or that? It's hard to quantify, because keep in mind, your sleep is your sleep. It's very personal. It's very intimate. You need it to survive.
Yeah, you can't live without it. That's true.
And I haven't got an 8 hours of sleep nonstop since April 30th, 2012.
Well, you are in my prayers, my friend. That's for damn sure. Here's another one for you. This is from Soul Brava 19. Have you ever experienced sleep paralysis?
No, and I know what sleep paralysis is because I've experienced something similar. Um, I've never had the experience as defined or described by others, meaning you wake up and there's a feeling of pinned down, can't move. You're stuck. Something's on top of you, almost
Mm-hmm.
like sitting on your chest, if you will. I've not experienced that. What I have experienced while sleeping is bed indentations, like an invisible cat has leaped on the bed and has made its way towards you. And depending how sleepy and groggy I am, they zoom through you. It's a flush. It's a euphoria. It's an electric jolt. Um, I'm not frozen. I can move. Generally, I'm jolted awake. I can tell you, the feeling feels like I've drunk 10 gallons of caffeine. I'm head heavy. I have a headache. Another instance, and this was when I was living in the Bothel home with Tina laying right next to me. I woke up in the dead middle of the night, sleeping on my back on top of the covers, and I don't sleep on my back, let alone while I'm on top of my covers. I was cold as an icicle, and I was gasping for air because I was so cold. I mean, I was shivering like a fig leaf, and it took me a
Cold
while.
area. It's a damn cold state, especially in the winter.
Yeah, and I was gasping for air, but it wasn't like something was on me. It just seems like my body temperature had went to a degree that it should not have gone to, and yeah, that's only happened twice. The second time that happened was in my new place of residence after I moved out of the Bothell home, and I woke up in such a bad state. My heart was racing. I took my blood pressure that night. I was 165 over 110.
Wow. I don't know much about blood pressures, but I do know anything above 120, I don't even know what the second number means, is generally high. And knock
Yeah, I
on wood,
was.
I don't experience that. So
Yeah,
165, I would think that's close to heart attack level.
that's high, and it lasted for about 20 minutes, and the lower one was 110. Um, that lasted for about 20 minutes, and I was fit once again, severe cold. It had been a lot of poking and prodding the night before and that night, and I canceled work, and I went into my primary care physician, and my blood pressure on average is about 120 or 117 over 85 or 170. And by then, of course, when I went into the office, my blood pressure returned to normal, but they could not explain what would make me go from your normal 120 to 165 over 110. And it was weird. It was very uncomfortable. I don't want to have that type of visit. I know something visited me by the level of the poking and prodding that I had that the night before or the night of. And generally, I don't try to have a somber sleep when it's that when they bombard me that much to prevent what I just described. But that night I was just so tired. It was a Sunday night, Monday morning, and yeah, it was weird. I was cold. I wish I had a thermometer because I really wanted to check my body temperature, see what was going on.
I
No,
guess
I
it's
doubt.
it's not no time for jokes, but I guess my pillow, the guy Mike, couldn't solve your problem in this case.
Was that?
You know that brand, My Pillow. It's on all the commercials. He cannot solve your case.
No, it's like it can solve my case. No, I've researched it. I've thought about it. I thought, oh, I've tried foam pillow, foam mattress.
Now, let me go back to seriousness here too, and I don't mean to mock it, of course. I know this is very serious. This is why I brought you back a third time because I believe in you and I believe in telling your story. It's important to keep it in the limelight because it's not just a part of history, it's part of the freaking present, and that's what really gets to me. Now, you mentioned that the cat phenomenon, a
Yeah,
lot of people experience whether a cat or they describe it as a dog that they don't own
right.
is crawling on their bed and making indentations. It's like, holy shit, wow. And that blows me away. That's another thing. How your fear, did your fear ever skyrocket to make you jump out of the bed and
Yeah,
leave out of the house that night?
yeah. Because you have to understand, me and Tina live alone. One of the most benefits of me and Tina in this ordeal, and there's not a lot, but one of the most benefit things about me and Tina is we live alone. Okay, researchers always ask, hey, do you got kids? Do you got pets? Do you got animals? Because those things can contaminate an evidencing. Okay, and they tend to, you use Occam's razor, people tend to think, oh, it's the cat, it's the dog, it's your kid, and they leave you alone. Well, we have none of that. So the first time or the second time I felt that bed indentation, Tina's not even home. So imagine you're sleeping, right? You're in your bed trying to catch some Z's, and you're just sleeping like you normally do, and you're sleeping on your side, and you feel it. I mean, for those who are listening, and you maybe have a pet, and I grew up with pets, so I know that feeling when my favorite dog or my pet cat jumped in bed with me. You feel the bed go down, and you feel the indentation. Something's walking towards you, and your brain, which generally catches on to things before you do, says, Keith, wake up. And I did. So my eyes dart open, and you still feel whatever it is heading towards you. And you're right. The first few times I leaped out of bed. I was like, what? What the? And of course, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And then you forget about it. A few days passed, a few weeks passed. Once again, Tina's gone or she's downstairs. I'm sleeping in. And you feel it again. Well, this time, instead of jumping out of my bed, I said, you know what? Instead of jumping out of my bed, I just want to see what's going to happen. Whatever is making its way towards me, I put it feels by the weight of it like a large cat. Small dog, large cat, but it walks like a cat by the level of the stealth. If so, I peg it as that. Not saying that it is, that's what it feels like.
So you recognize the four legs, not
You recognize
a bipedal.
Yeah, you recognize the four legs, and it's not scurrying towards you. And then when your eyes open up for when it lands on your bed, it's never a climb. It's like it flops down from the ceiling. It's never like a climb into the bed because the bed will go down and go back up. The edges don't go down. It's like something came from the ceiling onto the bed. And as it's walking towards you, your eyes dot open. I kid you not. The animal, and we're just going to use the word animal, it stops. It's like, as it senses you detect it, right? It stops. And then I'm just laying there and I'm looking at the wall in front of me. My back's turned to wherever it is I'm feeling. And then I get groggy or get sleepy again. And then it resumes. It resumes when you take your mind off it, like it never went anywhere. Well, one night or morning, I was just laying there, like, you know what? I'm just going to let this play through. I'm just going to see what's it going to do. I mean, it's a king size bed, so it ain't got to walk for long. What's it going to do when it gets to me? And then I kid you not, when it walks and you feel the four indentations in its close proximity to where it can't walk anymore towards you anymore, you feel a rush, a zoom, like zoom through your body. Not a sound, not a noise, a jolt. Like you touched one of those cow fences we had. We used to go to my uncle's farm. He had a cow fence with a ray that would shock you if you touch it. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to fry you, but it's going to zit you. You're gonna feel a little jolt. And that's what you feel in your bed. And then you like, whoa, euphoria. What was that? And that's it. Nothing through the other side. Nothing comes on the other side through your chest or through your torso or anything. And it's over. Then you're like, okay, what
just
was
happened?
that?
Exactly.
What went in me?
Let me ask you this. Was there anything that you did in your daily life that had any correlation to the amount of activity in this phenomenon?
You mean before the Bothel House?
No. I mean, while living there, was there something you did, say, at work or when you were out with Tina, whatever it be, that increased the phenomenon to get worse that night?
I could tell you that, and we noticed this, and we started sort of trying to control it. Mood swings and arguments would bring about the escalation of activity.
Yeah, I would think so. It's like attachments, as you mentioned earlier when you were giving the ants with the candy cane, right? It's
the
just
most
like
subtle
that. Same thing. They could feed off that fear, off that negative energy, off that mad, being mad, negative, basically, essentially.
Yeah, you do not want to. I mean, all couples do because it's unavoidable at times. But you go to sleep mad. If you go to sleep mad at each other in that house, oh, that good luck. Both of you are not getting any sleep. Good luck, because a large object, larger. Like I said, the campaign seems to go up a notch whenever me and Tina are not talking or upset. We're tired. We're sleep deprived. She's mad at me. I'm mad at her. It's the most minute argument. It's arguments, the most silliest things, and you forget what house you live in. You forget you're constantly being listened in on. You're being eavesdropped constantly. So if Tina's pet peeve is, Keith, if you go through the cupboard in the bathroom and you go on my side, I appreciate it if you leave things as they are before. If you want to look for something, Q-tip or whatever, fine. But can you please leave it in the order in which you found it? This normal stuff, right? And then I go through the cupboards one day, look for a Q-tip on Tina's side, and I don't leave it in the way that she likes it, right? So she's gonna gripe to me about it, right? She
Mm-hmm.
comes downstairs. I'm having my cornflakes. Hey, I told you if you're gonna go to my side to kind of tidy up when you do. I'll do it next time. Stop. Da 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 da.
And it's
Boom.
the
Boom.
last thing you
Boom.
kind of want to hear in the morning, too, when you wake up. You said you're eating
Yeah.
cornflakes. That's breakfast, right?
Yeah, and then the house explodes off that little thing, boom,
Oh.
boom, 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 and then you're like, okay, all right, yeah, we need to be better. We need to be careful because they upstairs are always this. Now, to keep in mind, the flip side of that is the entrapment piece of the days I don't go in Tina's stuff. Okay, and Tina comes home from work and she goes to her little side of the bathroom and it's all disheveled, right? She's gonna come to me, hey, you went to my stuff and you didn't put it back in the way you left it. I didn't go to your stuff. I didn't even do it this time. Yes, you did. Just admit to it. Just do it. I'm not gonna admit to something I didn't do. So now we're having that back and forth. And then by the fourth time I realized it, I realized, oh, they did
I
that.
was just going to say, in hindsight, now that you know what happens or happened and is still
Yeah.
happening, it wasn't a misplacement. And
No.
much of the arguments you probably had over stuff like this was because of them.
Yeah. Once they realize what sets you off or what sets Tina off, you're out of the equation. They'll go do it themselves. And then you get falsely accused. Well, nobody likes to be falsely accused, right? So you get falsely accused, and you're defending yourself. And now she's like, "Oh, you calling me a liar? You say I don't know my own, da 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 da." And we're both right, but not right. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, oh, hey, it wasn't me. I promise it wasn't me. Oh, yes, it was. Da 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 da. Well, after the fifth time, you catch yourself like, wait a minute. Oh, they're trying to instigate an argument. And then I would finally go to Tina like, hey, honey, guess what? Study this. Don't take my word for it. Just study the pattern. They're trying to manipulate because keep in mind when we have our arguments, armoires get thrown, bar stools get thrown, clothes catches fire. So we have to don't. I can't accuse you of everything, and you can't accuse me of everything because we have to understand they're putting us against each other, and if we don't care for it, they're gonna have us slit in each other's throats, and that's what they wanted us to do.
So they're basically, it's like, leaving a trail for you to cause those emotions to burst
Of
out.
course. Of course. Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, once they realize what your pet, and we all have pet peeves, right? We all have what makes us us, and they exploit that. Same way with Tina. In my man cave or something, I got things arranged a certain way, and I got music over here. I got my collection of LPs or whatever. And sometimes when I'm on the road or traveling, Tina entertain her girlfriends, and she'll go through my record collection, and she'll pull out a good album or something, and get them all out of alphabetical order. Well, I come home and see my records in all not in alphabetical order. I'm like, Tina, can you kindly put them in alphabetical order next time? She'll make a mental note to do it, and then I come home one day and they're total not in alphabetical order. They're worse than before, and I'm like, okay, I thought we just had this conversation. I got to go back to my girlfriend, not realizing that it wasn't Tina that put the whole thing not in alphabetical order. They were heard. They heard the original conversation. They heard the original tension that resulted in that conversation. Tina's now out the equation. Now they come in and rearranged everything. And the first person I'm going to go in, because I'm not equating everything to spirits yet. Tina, did you go put my albums not in alphabetical order? kid, I ain't been in your rooms all week or whatever. Hey, Tina, and then you have to catch yourself and realize, okay, they did that.
It's not
They,
her. Yeah.
it's not, it's not her.
Let me ask you this. So, what year did you move, and when you moved and sold the house, were you still with Tina, or did she leave before because of the activity?
Tina moved out of the house, March, late February, early March of what was that? 2015. I moved out of the house May of 2016. So I stayed in the house a year and maybe 3 months after she moved out. Um, Tina was upset by the activity. Tina was upset by the lack of help and seriousness that we were receiving at the time, not now, but at the
I don't
time,
blame her, right?
from the paranormal community. And she had really took a hit on the social blogosphere and social media after the episode aired, Demons in Seattle. People were naming Tina as the cause, as the agent, as the
Hoax,
causatory.
things like that. Yeah.
And none of that was true. None of that was true. So that was a straw that broke the camel's back, and that was hard. That was hard. Me, I stayed a year and 3 months. Moved out May of 2016. After both teams that came in January and April of that year, may seem like a good time to leave. The activity was showing signs of resurfacing, but we were renters. We were not owners of the home. Me and Tina were renters, as were Rhonda and her family. We were renters of the home. I was working in unison with the homeowner to try to determine root cause of the activity. And one of the most interesting things about this case, through our ordeal, when like I said, I told you at the very beginning, the homeowner, we signed the papers, he gave us the keys, and he was out of there. In the 4 years of me living in the house, and the homeowner knowing what was going on, because I kept him up to date and we told him and whatnot, and he had to approve, as him being the homeowner, researchers coming in and researching the home. He let me be in charge of having investigators come in. The homeowner has only been to the house twice in the 4 years I've lived there.
Wow.
And
It
the
goes
two
to show
times,
you that the homeowner doesn't want to be there.
right, and the only two times that he was there was May 1st, 2012, when he gave us the keys, and May 7th or May 8th when he came to pick up the keys.
Wow. Here's a few questions for you. This is from Tammy George. She wants to know how long you and Tina were together.
Me and Tina were together 2 years before we moved into the home. And we were, I think it would be 5 years when she moved out. So she moved out in 2015. So yeah, we were about 4.5 to 5 years we were together.
Come on. Okay. This next one, you've talked about it, but I'm going to ask it anyway because this is from listener Ruins of Coolness. Here it goes. Did the paranormal activity have anything to do with the ending of the relationship?
Yes. Yes. Going back to what I was telling you, um, there's a terminology called vexation, where the house occupants are being bombarded constantly, together and individually, different phenomena. Um, One of the things that me and Tina were told and advised to do, and it's easier said than done, is you have to have a united front. You're battling dark forces who are hell bent on you guys destroying yourself. I'm real clear about this. I know for a fact the spirits wanted us to destroy ourselves. They want you kill her or she kill you, or y'all kill each other. They can't do it with their outright hand, but they can create the atmosphere, the mindset, the mentality. Because keep in mind, we're being bombarded. We're being given tasks to do that we're told we have to do diligently, or none of this is going to work. Well, keep in mind, we got day jobs, we got food, we got to eat, we got to sleep, we got to pay the bills. Paranormal teams are coming in who don't know what they're doing. They're making the stuff worse. Other paranormal teams are no call, no show. Certain churches are no call, no show, and at the same time, we're being, set up because Tina's, she's tired. She's questioning my motives. I'm questioning her motives, and all that times 10 adds up and finally takes a toll on you because you start asking the question, and it's only natural, can I trust the person next to me? Is Tina really in it is she in it to win it? And Tina's asking me the same way to herself, to her family, is Keith really in it to win it? And if he's not in it to win it, meaning once Tina thinks that I'm not in it to win it, she's out of there. And the same thing with me. Unfortunately for Tina, the straw that broke the camel's back with her was all of that I just told you, and also the ill portrayal on the Demons in Seattle episode, because there's no amount of, I guess, devotion to a man, especially if you don't think he's in it to win it. I'm out of here, dude. I'm out of here.
That's true. Very true. Okay, more questions for you. 9 Lives. Do you think aliens are demons, or is it just dogmatic ignorance?
As what? Being in the home?
No, he's. I think 9 Lives. I don't know if it's. I assume it's a he, but he's asking about ETs, extraterrestrials in general.
Do I think they exist?
It says, do you think aliens are demons, or is it just dogmatic ignorance? Basically, are they demons?
I don't think aliens are demons. I think aliens are aliens from another world or another galaxy or another time period or whatever.
Exactly. Dimension, time period, yeah.
Yeah, I think in our home, those were demons. Those, based on the evidence we've compiled, and your listeners can go treasure hunting on my YouTube channel later and read the research from the investigators. No, these were multiple of demons, malevolent spirits, incarnate, discarnate spirits with an axe to grind. They have an axe to grind for various reasons, most being the turmoil that went on in Bothel before any house was even put on that lot. It's just made it to say, one of the things people, and it's very interesting to understand or hard to understand, different things trigger poltergeist outbreaks. Nobody knows for sure what's the linchpin, if you will, of why that house and not the other 80 odd houses in the neighborhood. They all sit on similar land. They're all in Bothel. I boiled it down in my book to a level of synergy. We all, meaning everybody listening and you myself, we all carry within us a certain synergy that if it comes across a certain spirit or a group of spirits who exists only to exploit that synergy, look out. Look out. That's why they say be careful opening up portals with Ouija boards, because you're opening up a door and they see you. And if they think you got the most littlest inkling of interest, in them or their world, or they see your kinks in your armor, it's going to be an opportunity too good to pass up. An analogy I use in book 2, Attachments, Poltergeist of Washington State, is we all are familiar with the Venus flytrap.
Yes. Yes.
The Venus flytrap, in my definition, describes poltergeist activity 100%. If you study the Venus flytrap, you notice, and I didn't notice until I drilled down on it, if a fly or an insect lands in the mouth of the Venus flytrap, if the fly knew in advance that all it had to do was be still for 20 seconds, the Venus flytrap would not even close its mouth on it. What triggers the Venus flytrap to close its mouth on the fly is the fly's movement after being stuck. The fly is trying to fight and wiggle its way to freedom. The Venus flytrap then closes its mouth. Now, when I first saw this on Wild Kingdom, I thought the fly was dead. The Venus flytrap closes its mouth on the fly is dead. No. The Venus flytrap will close its mouth on a fly and wait 20 seconds before it starts its digestive system. If the fly can be still for 20 seconds, that mouth is going to open up and the fly can fly off. But the fly does not know it's on a timer. The Venus flytrap knows, and it will not waste its energy on digesting something like a leaf or something that just falls in its mouth. Therefore, it's not going to move. So it's going to open up its mouth again and say, something fell into me that's not digestible. Hey, be gone. So poltergeists are the same way in the sense of we all could come into a home, and depending on our synergy or response to whatever stimuli is there, whether we know it or not, can trigger something. And these spirits, if you notice, Rhonda and her family were a couple. She had a husband and a wife. Granted, they had kids, but me and Tina's relationship and Rhonda's relationship had a lot of similarities in it. This was my first home. This was their first home. They were starting out doing anew. The husband had just taken on a new job. You know, he was an Alaska fisherman. Felt good about getting a house for his family. I felt good about getting a house for me and Tina. And the spirits interact with that. It's like, okay, we can sort of throw monkey wrenches into this and just see what happens. You know, see what happens. Where I got in trouble more than Rhonda and her family, being that I'm in IT, I'm sort of analytical, I'm sort of wired that way. I bought in all type of equipment, listening devices, motion detection, uh, scanners, readers, and all that because at the offset, I thought it was kind of cool. I didn't know what a malevolent spirit was or
Yeah, I was
could
just
do.
gonna say you thought it was childlike, it was
Yeah,
innocent, but things started happening, being thrown
yeah,
at you, your shirt's being burned. I mean, shit, it doesn't
right.
get any worse than that.
And
Um,
they control the on and off switch. You don't.
that's
You
right.
turn that switch on, guess what? They control the off switch.
Now, Rockstar is asking a question which he asked earlier. I'm going to ask it again. Maybe he missed it, but it says, word for word, did he experience any scratches? You mentioned Tina, but what about yourself?
I never had scratches on me. I did have a push. I was pushed January 2nd of 2014, and it did tear my right patella tendon, which caused me to have surgery to repair, to reattach. And I was laid up for about 2.5 months.
Ooh,
And that's when the activity returned um, in 2014. Because keep in mind, 2013, uh, the house was dormant. We had no activity for the entire year of 2013. And then after my mysterious fall, it was a weird fall. I was coming downstairs like I normally do, wanted a glass of water, and I got to the midway landing, and it was over before it began. I looked up. I'm looking at the ceiling.
Jesus.
Steve and Dawn later in their Q&A, fast forward 2 years, did ask the question, and the EVP they got back where the spirit said, "Yeah, we pushed them down the stairs."
Really? The
Yeah,
spirit actually responded and said that.
yes. I
Wow.
quote right here. Quote: "We pushed Keith down the stairs." They put my name in the EVP. We now they use the word "we,"
We,
going back to that
plural. Yeah.
plural, and they said we pushed Keith down the stairs. Not
And you
him,
see
not
the
it,
irony, I
not
was just going to say, is they used your name as if you're not there, right? They could
right,
have said we pushed him, right? But
right.
they didn't. They said we pushed Keith.
Yeah, they said we pushed Keith down the stairs. When they played that to me, it blew my mind away because it was always in the back of my mind that fall, and it was in the back of Tina's mind and the priest's mind because it was a weird fall. And then a few weeks after that, the armoire flew across the hallway, and one night when me and Tina were sleeping, and that's when the activity had come back with a vengeance. And everything this case is known for happened after that. The burning Bibles, the burning poster, the wall writings, and things of that nature all came after my fall. And we got, yeah, the EVP said we pushed Keith down the stairs. I was like, oh, we. I was like, oh. And we got multiple EVPs where they use plural in it. They. There's not a lot of I's in the EVPs. A lot of we's, a lot of
Please.
we's, a lot of they, us, and like I said, three. How many shadow people are out here? Three. So, yeah,
Here's a few more questions I want to get before we finish. Fortunately, there's been a lot of questions and a majority of great questions, actually. Okay, here
yeah.
comes. This is from Adarike Studios. Has Keith learned any protective measures over the years?
Uh, I've learned since this ordeal, and this is probably before this ordeal. I know I was never into, like I said, going back to the dark arts or Ouija boards or just doing, playing cat's blood or whatever. I've learned now, and when I go to bed, I do my prayers, I do my lavender bath, my cleansing or whatnot. I'm still trying to shed what's still on me. Some nights are better than others. Um, I don't go. I've been asked multiple times by paranormal researchers, "Hey, do you want to go on this investigation with us? Do you want to go? Whatever. It'd be kind of cool to have you on board with us as we go to this abandoned hospital or school or house or whatever." And my first answer is no, no. I don't need to be in it or to see it or visit it or whatever. I'm just going to do me. I'm just going to be me. Got enough going on as it is. Um, and then, yeah, I try to have cleansings, whatnot. If somebody emails me and say try this, if it's within realm of reason and it sounds sound, yeah, I try it and I do it. Like I said, some nights are worse than others, which means some nights are better than others. But yeah,
But
like I said,
something is still happening just about
so yeah, the
every
poking
night.
and the prodding, that's still happening.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
said you
last
haven't
night,
gotten 8 hours in what, since 2012, literally 7 years.
yes, 7 years, right? And
Jeez.
night terrors or nightmares. I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 in December. I never had a night terror in my life. Um, I have them now. I attribute that to the Bothel House. There's a little post-traumatic stuff going on there, but the nightmares that I have are vivid. I see the shadow figures, the tugging guys, the little minions I call them. They look grotesque. They're not friendly by appearance. And the dreams are not nice. This is not Little House on the Prairie by any stretch of the imagination. This is dark stuff, and it jolts you awake. Those paw prints, those cat indentations or bed indentations, that's still going on. The heartbeats, we didn't talk about that tonight, but the phantom heartbeats that you hear on the your pillow when I lay my head down or my ear down to my pillow, I kid you not, about 2 a.m., 3 a.m., I can hear the heartbeats coming from the
Whoa.
mattress, from the bed, and none that I'm telling you cannot be because they can go to my channel. The heartbeats are there. The links are in my book to where you can go listen to the heartbeats yourself. I went out and bought some expensive digital stethoscopes to allow me to capture. And I took these heartbeats to doctors, heart surgeons, nurses, EMT specialists to confirm, hey, is this indeed a heartbeat? It's not human. These beats are way above 120 beats per minute.
Wow.
These are not human rhythms or what they call it of a human being. If you were to take a chart of heartbeats per minute based on the size of the heartbeats I've captured, they're about the size of a large cat and small dog.
So,
Once again,
similar to what you're talking about of what is
yes.
the phantom cat that's on your bed, the
Yeah,
indentations, right?
everything triangulates and touches one another. When you get all the evidence combined, uh, the previous tenant seeing shadow figures. Well, how tall are the shadow figures that your son sees? Oh, they're about 1 feet tall. How tall are the shadow figures that I see? Oh, about 1 feet tall. They're black. They walk on two legs. They're hindsight. They move very stilt-like, very creepy. The shadow figures that Steve and Dawn captured in the hallway. We got it on film, ladies and gentlemen. We got the video of the shadow, for lack of a better word, creatures off their equipment, not mine, but I've already seen them with the naked eye, so I know what they look like. Then you got to add that to the heartbeats that I captured with the digital echo stethoscope, and I think one lab stethoscope that can magnify a heartbeat 100 times the normal sound. And it's on, since it's digital, it's on software, so you can save it. It's a live streaming capability, and all that's on my channel. And it's not easy to hear. That's very discerning to hear these heartbeats because you have to ask the next question: what is that?
Of course, that's what naturally comes. Once you hear them, you think, what the hell is causing them? Let me get
Yeah.
some more questions in here for you before we go. Tammy George, would things be different when you come and go out of that house?
The Bothel House, yes. The first 2 nights of me living outside the Bothel House, Tammy, I was awakened up early in the morning to my ears ringing. This was in the dead of night, and it was weird. It was very painful. It was like I was coming out of a vacuum or being depressurized and maybe being depressurized too quickly. It lasted a considerable amount of time. I was this close to dialing 911 because I never had this pain in my head before, and it was coming out of my ears. Um, and then also, when I leave where I live from now, like I travel on business. I go to conferences, and I have to go to other cities to meet my team. When I'm in hotels, um, some nights are good. Some nights it feels like I'm getting a good night's sleep. It's restful. It's peaceful. I'm not being watched. There's no sensation of we're gonna mess with Keith
Wait, you
today.
just actually brought something up important. You said when I'm not being watched. How often do you have that feeling that somebody's watching or something?
In the Bothell House all the time. Now, particularly when I go to bed, because you have to keep in mind every now and then, and it's every blue moon, but every now and then, I'll hear that a whisper say Keith. It'll just blurt out of thin air, Keith, in my ear, above my head while I'm sleeping, and it's always a female voice. I've heard it while away from the home. I've heard it at work. I've heard it in hotel rooms, but it's gotten less and less. But it's not over.
Sounds like the
But
gray woman is talking to you almost.
it's a female angelic voice, Irish accent, which we put a lot of Irish accent voices out of the Bothell home. When I take the Keith EVPs that I got in the Bothell home and compare it to the Keith EVPs that I got where I'm living now, the pattern's the same. It's a very, I mean, it's very distinct female voice, crystal clear, the enunciation, and it's right above my head. I could be sound asleep, copping Z's, and I kid you not, it's a blurt out Keith. And some I hear with the naked ear, some I don't, but it gets picked up with voice recorder devices. And yeah, it's always what the Keith voices are always female.
That's actually really freaky and of Irish accent. Was Rhonda? I don't think so. She didn't have a Irish
No,
accent, did
Bothell.
she?
Bothell had a huge Irish settler. The settlers in Bothell back in the 1800s were um, a great percentage were from had Irish descendants. Well, now Bothell has a 16 to 20% Irish descendants, but back then it was a heavy population of Irish. These Irish settlers are the ones that clashed with the Native Americans, and the Native Americans got the raw end of the stick most of the time.
Okay, here is more for you. Ward Alien Video wants to know, what was the heaviest object you saw levitate?
The 300-pound armoire.
Wow.
It would. I would say, just going off my rough memory, not looking at my notes, it was thrown at least 10 times. It got thrown so many. It got thrown so many times. Here's the deal: when we moved in and we moved this armoire up the stairs, it took 3 men. I'm 6'5", 255, 265 pounds. It took 3 of me to move this armoire up.
Jeez.
I hated moving this armor. Tina will bear witness. I hated moving this thing around upstairs. You put it over here. Your girlfriend says, "Oh, I'll put it over there." It took 3 of us. These spirits tossed this thing like a matchstick at least 3 times. It got tossed so many times. When I carried it down on move out, it moved in pieces. It was disheveled and broken up by the time it came to removing it from the house because it had finally gotten damaged and torn that it was just, it would break every time it got tossed. And you put this back together, this drawer back together, but 10 plus times, it was just, it was like a leaning armoire after about the 8th time. It was useless.
I'm sure the more they agitated you, the more they wanted to do it.
Of course. That's the whole campaign of what these types of spirits do is, oh, okay, we knock it down, you pick it back up. We're gonna knock it down again. Okay, we're gonna wait for you to go to bed. And we're gonna knock it down. You got to respond to it. It's a noise. You can't let that noise go unchecked in your house. It could be anything. It could be a burglar. It could be anybody. And you go check, and sure enough, the armoire is laying down. All the contents emptied. You go down the kitchen, and the bar stool is knocked over. All your cabinet drawers are emptied of their contents. The wine rack, all the wine is poured out. And yeah, it does that, and it watches you put it all back together, only to do it again 48 hours later.
That's pretty sad, and that's frightening. I knock on wood because my hat's off to you, sir. You literally put up with a lot, and being able to tell it without the fear in your voice, without and just knowing you've been dealing with this for 7 years. That's a long freaking time. Okay,
That's a long time.
here's another one for you. I know we're going over, but we'll make it quick. 9 lives. Are there other ways to expel demons other than exorcism? Does sage work?
That's the $64,000 question because, believe it or not, saging and smudging, the jury is still out as that being effective or non-effective. Here's the catch-22 though. When it's effective, yes, it will work. There have been cases where people have smudged and saged and they've not had activity ever. There have also been cases where people have smudged and saged and the activity has gotten worse, usually immediately. We unfortunately fell into the category of the activity getting worse. So it's really hard to tell people. When we were told to smudge, nobody gave us the caveat of, hey, there's a risk here of making it worse. It was everybody that told us to smudge said it was a silver bullet, end all be all. And that's and I watch every now and then a paranormal show, and that's how they kind of twist it. When people ask me, I tell them, hey, I can't tell you it's not going to work. All I can tell you is you run the risk of making whatever it is you're doing 10 times worse. It's like a medicine, it's like a pill that's supposed to cure a certain ill in you. It may cure that ill, but the side effects might also create something much worse. You have to weigh what the side effects are. For us, the side effects were 3 burnt Bibles, 2 Bibles are still missing, light fixtures exploding, wall writings, my shirt catching fire, large objects being thrown, and me and Tina no longer being together. Those are the things you have to consider. If you got pets, you got children, please take those things into consideration if you're thinking about smudging or saging, because the spirits are not going to say, oh, you got a 6-year-old, we're going to leave your 6-year-old alone, we're just going to mess with you. No, they're going to mess with your 6-year-old or your 2-year-old or your dog or your pet or your cat or your parrot. And you thinking, oh, well, why is my sage not working? Are going to go buy bigger sage sticks, longer sage sticks, and it's just going to exacerbate. So I just tell people, be careful with the smudging.
Now, this last question, let me make sure it is the last one. Let's see if there's another one here that I did not miss. Yes. Okay. Now, this is a yes from my side, an absolute yes, and so because we reached out to you again. Atarax Studios wants to know, Keith, will you please come back soon for another show?
Sure, of course. I like it. You guys ask great questions. I would be welcome back, or anytime the invitation is sent and we coordinate calendars. Of course, yeah, I'd love to be back.
Oh, well, God bless you and thank you. This has been a great time. It flew by, and I don't want it to sound great when it, has to do with torment, but it really is very informative, very much so that, I've spoken, like I said, to a lot of people from Ghost Adventures, Ghost Nation, Ghost Hunters, and when I ask about their biggest cases and what they've dealt with, they're like visitors, right? They're not
Right.
there. They're just, they're visitors. They're going from one place, but they can leave when they want to, when their producer wants to. You're stuck.
Yeah.
Now, any final statements before I throw mine in before we go? And I want you to stay on for a quick second so I can thank you off there too.
Okay. No, my final statement, like I said, is The reason why I do what we just did is, like I said, I like to tell the story to educate, to let people know what happened, how it happened. If anybody out there going through anything similar, will bear witness that this stuff is not fun, is not pretty. Um, but the only silver lining out of this all, and there is a small silver lining, is people can learn that evidence is out there on the internet. Do your own digging around, go find the evidence. That's why I made it available on the internet. It's free. The Bothel Hell House is book one. Attachments, Poltergeist of Washington State is book two, part two. Both books combined is going to give you a fundamental idea of the physical aspects of a haunted house and the mental and the spiritual aspect, which is book two is primarily about. So for those two things, the listener can't go wrong. And yeah, just do your own research.
And you know what? You lay a lot of the evidence out for us to do to make up our own mind. Like I said, it was a
Yeah,
combination of talking to you, seeing every video you had on the YouTube channel, reading the paranormal reports, plus your book, the first one that I have here, The Bothel House, The Poltergeist of Washington State by Keith Linder 2.0. That's
yeah,
the one I have for you.
yeah.
Now, with that being said, I want to thank you, of course, and let me give some shout outs here. I want to thank, of course, Justin T. Not only for the super chat donation, but for being the moderator that is always around. Also, Lars Saturn, I want to thank you as well for your super chat donation. And everybody who is in the chat. First of all, big shout out to the Blue Crew. All my mods are really the top. You guys rock, guys and gals. Truly are the top of the best you can find. And of course, I want to thank the newcomers who I see in the chat room today. I hope you all enjoy the past shows. There are about 500 at least available on YouTube, plus another 100 or so on my archives on my website. And also, with that being said, the only place you really can find me directly, if you don't have my phone number, is Twitter. Other social media you can use, somebody will respond, but generally keep in mind it is not me. But Twitter is the one thing that, since the phone's in my pocket and the alerts are on, if I'm tagged, and no, so I don't discriminate, I follow one person, the United States President. So that way no one can say, oh, why aren't you following me and back? It doesn't work that way because I don't want to get full of all these notifications all day long. I just want to get notified when someone is trying to reach me. With that being said, all you guys rock. I'll be back on Thursday. Make sure you get Keith's book and check out all his evidence on his YouTube channel as well. With that being said, you all have a good night and a good morning if you're on the other side of the pond.